I'm just going to be here to introduce our speaker today. Here we go. Greg Hemmings is an award-winning filmmaker and global thought leader on the subject of using brand stories to create positive social change. He has produced films for clients around the world. Greg has been creating measurable social change through the films he creates that are intentionally produced to make impact. Film is a very powerful medium to share stories. However, to reach the widest audience, he uses multiple platforms. Greg became a Toastmaster to prepare for speaking engagements, including TEDx events and other global conferences he's attended. He produces the Boiling Point podcast and Hemmings House blog that further engages a worldwide audience. Impact storytelling helps companies build trust in the market and create positive social impacts in the world. Toastmasters have stories to tell too. Greg is going to share with us his ideas on how we can reach a wider audience and create impact stories using video, podcasting, and blogs. He's widely regarded as a pretty darn good guy. In my opinion, he's usually a very snappy dresser. Please join me in welcoming Greg with his presentation.
Thanks, buddy. Right back at you, Conrad. Thank you, everybody. I'd first like to acknowledge the traditional lands of the Abenaki people that we are gathering here on. It really is an honor to be here on this lake, the beautiful surroundings. So today, I'm here to talk about us being the storytellers of the new economy. Now, a lot of people throw words like that around, the new economy, the digital economy, a whole bunch of different types of economies, right? But the truth of the matter is we are experiencing such massive cultural shifts that are unlike any other generation before in the past. Things are changing, and the internet has been an incredible blessing and also an incredible curse. If we want to look at the blessing side of it, as storytellers that all of us are, we're all Toastmasters. We are all training on a weekly basis to be expert public speakers, which in my mind, I like to call that expert storytelling. And we have an opportunity to go far beyond our club level now. We might have 15, 20, 30 people in our club, but why can't we take these skills and find the stories that we believe are going to make the biggest impact in the world and amplify them to the world? We can do that today. We can get connected to millions, if not billions of people because of a certain amount of tools that we now have in our toolkit because we're living in this new economy. A few of the tools that I like to bring up to your attention is really nice vests. So I am a member of the St. John Velvet Toastmasters. Now, we're chartered as a different name, the Rising Tide Toastmasters. We've got a guest from KV with us as well. I really suggest we change our name because that looks pretty awesome. What hotel have you ever been to that actually has the same material on the walls that we're wearing? Incredible. Anyhow, outside of being a snappy dresser, a few of the storytelling tools that I rely heavily on are these three: podcasting, video making, and public speaking. Now, there's a number of others that I have in my toolkit as well. I write on a weekly basis in the newspaper. I've got a blog on medium.com. I put on events. I write music, use photography, but in everything I do, as far as a storytelling medium is concerned, is I am pushing a certain agenda. And that agenda is what represents my values, who I am, what I believe in. And this is a little bit of what I want to talk about. In this changing economy now, we have to connect with each other on a values level now, more than ever. So when I think about, for me, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got a business. I have to sell videos for a living. I sell a whole bunch of videos for a living. So what we have done in the past, maybe our stories were like, here's what a video could look like for you. Here's why you should hire Hemmings House Pictures to make it for you. Here's the fancy cameras that we use. That type of storytelling does not work. Nobody really cares. But perhaps customers care for what the company, what the employees, what the owner believes in. And what do I believe in? I believe in a sustainable future. I believe that business has a massive role to play in creating a happier and kinder world. I believe that the capitalism that we built as a society was very damaging, but I also believe that the same business and the same economic structure can actually change things around and actually create a happier and kinder world. I believe in this. I believe in a thing called triple bottom line, which is where businesses are measuring more than just one bottom line, profit. We're measuring things like people, the planet, and profit. How can we use our businesses as forces for good? So that is my agenda, okay? What I just told you there is I am a big believer in business to make positive change in the world. It's like a hack. You know, business is one of the most powerful forces in the world, and how come we haven't used it to actually fix some of the most challenging issues that we have in the world today? And that's my passion. So whether I'm in a boardroom, whether I'm pitching a video that has nothing to do with sustainability or positive social impact, I am talking this story. And what I've been finding is an incredible magnetic force of other people in the world outside of my area of Atlantic Canada wanting to work with my company as a result of me putting my hand up and saying, this is what I believe in as a business owner in Canada. I've got crews filming stories all around the world, and it's all because of the ripple effect of what I've been doing as a storyteller, trained and supported by my Toastmasters group, but using new platforms to share and amplify. And I'm smiling because I found out like the secret sauce. The secret is we don't have to spend money for marketing our company. All we have to do is be real and be ourselves. I was invited to speak at a TEDx. I've done 2 now, which is really exciting for me. I'm a big fan of the TED conference. And I was invited as a result of writing a lot of blogs and my podcast talking about this theme. So again, just another ripple effect. People say, that's an interesting take, that Greg actually believes that business and capitalism can be a force of love. What a strange thing. Who uses the word love in business? Does anybody use the word love in the boardroom? Or I don't know. I do. I use the word love on an absolute daily basis. So I had some difficulties trying to figure out how to articulate this. And like all of us when we're writing a speech, how many hours do we put into doing all these different versions and testing them with our partners? But 5 days before the TEDx came, I was at the Algonquin Hotel in St. Andrews, New Brunswick with the kids, and I was playing with my daughter with a game of Jenga. Who remembers Jenga? Okay, so her and I were playing this, and we took it out of the box. It's a solid structure, the Jenga game, isn't it? It takes a lot to knock it over. It's not going to knock over, in fact. But the point of the game is to take a block from the bottom and put it on the top, as you remember the little story. But what's actually happening is we are taking limited resources from the bottom to grow the tower higher and higher. From the bottom and the middle, limited resources. So what happens, the taller we build this thing, what happens? It starts to lose its structural integrity. And I was like, bingo, this is how we've built our economy to date. And I started to realize, I was like, okay, if we've got 2 types of economies, we've got my dream of a love economy, and we have our current economy, which I'm calling the greed economy, love economy, greed economy. How do I demonstrate that? And I started to think about it too, and I didn't want to sound preachy because I'm a contributor to the greed economy. We all are. You know, like this is all about what is the vision that I want to see in the world down the road, right? I want to see a love economy, but I am contributing to the greed economy as much as the next person, okay? So it's not a pretentious type of thing, but when I analyze what is greed, I realize that greed is an offshoot of fear, isn't it? Are we afraid of scarcity? We all are. It's a natural human instinct. We want to take care of our families, take care of ourselves. And there's this fear of scarcity that we have as a culture, especially in Western culture, that we don't have enough. And this is the whole American dream made a whole lot of sense, actually, until it got misrepresented and turned into a thing of materialism, right? So I understand the greed economy, but now it's time for us to look at the love economy, which is based on abundance, fairness, sustainability, inclusion, and respect. We can build businesses like that. And all of us as consumers, when we pay money for things, we can vote with our dollar. What are the businesses that we're going to support and help grow? So this is my whole thing. So I'm kind of doing 2 things right now. I'm hacking my speech opportunity here by seeding in my personal philosophy. So when we're done, we walk out and we're going to have some drinks later tonight. A few of you are going to come up and you're going to say, I totally don't agree with you. And then another group of people are going to say, Greg, I love what you're saying, and let's, and we'll probably create a relationship. That's kind of how this works. If I didn't tell you about what I believe in, maybe I'm a little bit less of an interesting person to talk to, right? So anyway, I've been pushing this message through a number of different mediums, and we're going to get to that. For the TED Talk, again, I was trying to figure it out. The Jenga game really helped me figure this out. But I was like, now how am I going to demonstrate that? Am I going to go up in TED and say, yeah, my daughter and I were playing with Jenga, and I figured out how we're going to totally transform our economy. And I was like, you know what? I should pull out my iPhone and make this real. Okay? I'm a filmmaker. I've got access to tons of equipment and really talented people. No, I don't need that. I just need my iPhone, and that's all of us have some sort of a camera that can do stuff like this. Okay? So this is the piece that made my TED Talk shine. And the point of this is, do not underestimate the power of that thing in your pocket, which is your phone. When we're trying to become more effective speakers and trying to get our story out further, video is a tool that none of us have an excuse not to touch. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, so that's Willow. She's an amazing Macaulay Culkin impersonator. And she is the sweetest little thing. Everybody to this day remembers this video, right? After all the hours of me trying to make a good speech, it was this tiny little video I shot in maybe 8 minutes, edited on the phone, that people remember, right? So as effective Toastmasters, how can we, in our club level, start really challenging ourselves to start integrating things like video to support our speeches? The love economy discussion that I've been having a lot also opened up a door to Seth Godin. How many people read Seth Godin's work? Got a few people? Seth is a hero of mine. Like, I've been reading his stuff for years, and I've based a lot of my business philosophy on Seth's work. As a result of my unique angle on business, he invited me to spend a weekend with him with a few other people to learn a lot of inspiring things about how do we create the world that we want to see in the future. And when we left that 2-day session, he challenged all of us to go ship a project. And when he means ship it, he means get it done. Whatever it is that you're leaving with, like tomorrow when we leave this conference, all of us have ideas. Most of us are just going to go home and just carry on. Most of us aren't going to execute on the things. What Seth said is you're not leaving until you guarantee that you're going to ship it. So I got home, started thinking, I want to make a film about the love economy. No, I don't want to call it the love economy, but I want to make it about these ideas. And I called Seth up, and again, remember, he's a big hero in my life, right? So it's like a rock star thing. And I was like, man, I can't ship it unless I get you in my movie. I was like, impossible. I need you in the movie. So he's like, all right. So I went back to New York, and he allowed me to interview him and film, and he was the crux of this film, The Millennial Dream. So really quickly, I made this film with my team called The Millennial Dream. It was not a movie to make money on. We raised about $150,000 to make this film happen, and all the money that came in to support this came from donors, and a very small group of donors, let's say 10 people, who cared about the same things that I'm talking about. And a lot of the people that put money in didn't even know who I was, but they understood my philosophy because I've been talking about this stuff, right? So within 2 weeks, I raised $150,000, $160,000 to make this film, and investors didn't want any money back. They wanted impact. They wanted to see change happen. And what was the change? In Atlanta, Canada, we're experiencing a massive brain drain of young people. They're all leaving, right? And there's a number of reasons for it. Jobs is one of them. Another very dangerous reason is because of the negative side of storytelling. Kids are growing up in Atlanta, Canada, and probably in other places that you're all from too, with parents, teachers, guidance counselors, friends, the media, telling them stories that they cannot be prosperous in the hometown that they were born in. And it's so crazy because everybody wonders why and how I built an international film company out of St. John, New Brunswick. And the answer is simple. My network is there. My supports are there. We're hyper-connected in Atlantic Canada, and now in New England, of course. Like we are a connected place. Don't think small is bad. So I really believe in places like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland, and Maine, and all of New England. You know, like we may have lower populations, but we can get stuff done. So we wanted to make a film not about Atlantic Canada, but for Atlantic Canadians to get them to shift their way of thinking. And this is why these people put money into this film. They wanted to see conversation change, and we were successful. Do you guys want to see the trailer? It's okay.
In the past, the American dream was defined. Anyone can make it, work really hard, save for a house, save for a car, save for your family, and you'll be okay.
And over again, the promise was, it's okay, you'll get a job, you can pay off your debt in 3 years. It was a lie.
All of that's out of the window now.
The deal that said, work hard, get a lot of stuff, is now, work hard, get into debt.
Universities need to respond to this new economy. A lot of them are struggling.
I think what we find more recently with respect to the millennial generation is this feeling of an ability or a desire to contribute more broadly to society beyond the paycheck.
Maybe some of them do, but some of them need to pay their cell phone bill last month, and they're just looking for work to do that.
The idea of maximizing shareholder value being the only purpose for business, if that's all that you're doing, there's really, to my mind, no reason for you to exist.
When you look at where millennials are choosing to live, it's about affordability, caring for the environment, vibrant Main Street that has all the services and amenities that you'd want.
And you see that revolt amongst the youth now that feel they should be able to know how their food's being grown.
Change is inevitable now, and it's going to happen at a much faster rate than we've ever been used to before.
What values will replace the American dream?
So that's the trailer of the film. The film was sold on Amazon, Hulu, and PBS. So they've got it on a relative regular rotation here in the States on PBS. The impact of this film, remember, this started for me blogging. It started for me podcasting. Started with me doing little workshops and public speaking. Turned into a film, right? Since then, I have had well over 5,000 people in settings no larger than this across North America that I've personally screened this film for. Chambers of Commerce, universities, town halls. People are eating this up because it's not about Atlantic Canada, it's about any hometown. And can we defend that any hometown actually can change a mindset to actually make it a fertile area for young people to thrive in? It's a universal topic, right? And since then as well, the BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, is sponsored, and they're currently doing a cross-country tour with this film. So this little film that we didn't do to make money, because we didn't make any money on it, we made this for impact, and because of that spirit, the impact is coming huge. Now, I just want to remind you again, this started with an idea. I did a little bit of writing on it. I started podcasting, interviewing people on podcasts about these type of themes. Got the attention of TEDx, the trickle effect. By the way, because I was on TEDx, Seth Godin invited me to his thing, right? So it's like this really neat, reverse funnel that's starting to happen because I chose to be bold and share my story in unique, different channels. This is my other daughter, Kaya, and she reminds me every day that we are all impact storytellers. She's got a YouTube channel. It's called Heart Fun, having fun with your heart. And it's all about inclusion, kindness, love on the playground. And the really cool thing is most of the people who are following her, like the kids love it, but they're adults looking at it, and we're reminded through the lens of a child some of these basic rules of humanity. It's just her just being cute, just being a kid. And as a result of her YouTube channel, she's spoken in front of hundreds of students, just got invited to speak at We Day, which is a big deal. It's like the TEDx for kids. And she sells shirts like this and raises money for local causes. And this is all her own thing. But she is a reminder to me that we're all impact storytellers. Even an 8-year-old in grade 3 is making massive impact. But the impact she's making, the smile she's creating, the money she's raising for good causes, it's really inspiring for me. Your voice, your story, your podcast. Just like the video stuff I talked about earlier. There's no reason why our clubs or individuals in our clubs aren't using podcasts. And it was kind of neat. I've heard 2 other speakers talk about this already at this conference. So it doesn't matter what your thing is that you're into, whether it's public speaking or dogs or soccer, whatever. you can still have a chance to be the top podcaster in your niche right now, because there's still not a lot of podcasts out there, but it's blowing up incrementally. Now's the time to get in. And making a podcast is not difficult. All it is doing what we do every day. We talk to people. This little machine right here, it's a Zoom recorder. It records awesome audio. Of course, I'm recording this presentation right now because I might flip this out over as a podcast in the future. I don't know. This is kind of the way I am. I videotape everything. I audio record everything because it might be useful content down the road. So podcasting, we've got a podcast called the Boiling Point Podcast. It's easy. I meet with my co-host once a month. We do 6 interviews, half hour each. We call in anybody we want, because nobody's saying no to podcasts yet. If you've got a hero and you want to call them up and say, hey, listen, I love what you're doing. I love your story. I'd like to honor you and bring you on to my podcast. They're not going to say no. Statistically, people do not get no's with podcasts because podcasts aren't regular yet. They're not majority yet, right? So I've been able to connect with so many legends, including Chris Hadfield, the commander of the International Space Station, for goodness sakes. I got him on as one of my early guests because he wrote a book. And people who write books love to be honored on podcasts. But what podcasts also do is it allows us as hosts to, again, demonstrate our values to our listening audience, which then contributes to that magnetic pull that I talked about. And at the end of that funnel, oftentimes it converts into sales for me. People who are looking for videos, they can go to a really awesome video company down the road, or if they happen to align with my worldview, they're going to call, even though I'm much further away, they will call us first. And there's no secret here. It's just putting yourself out there in authentic ways, sharing what you believe in these mediums that reaches far beyond your typical market. And keep thinking about this as your Toastmaster group, right? Like, how do we get more people involved in our Toastmasters group locally? These might be awesome ways to do it. Like using, maybe whenever we do our speeches at our club level, we should record them on audio and create our own Velvet Toastmasters podcast, right? Fun little fact, this Boiling Point podcast that we do, I had Jim on. And I knew Jim from years ago when I was at Toastmasters, years ago, and I took many years off. And after hearing that Jim was the international president of Toastmasters, I was like, that's cool, he lives in my city, neat. Let's pull Jim in. And Jim, I might have seen you on the street at the coffee shop a few times previous. During our podcast interview, my co-host Dave and I were like, geez, we should get back into a Toastmasters club. And Jim was like, why don't we start one? An early morning one. We don't have one in the city. So that all happened on air, in real time. And as a result, Rising Tide Toastmasters was born. The world is our impact story stage. I'm skipping through a few different tools, but in a way, I kind of want to leave you hanging a little bit too, because I want to keep this conversation going. There's so much more to talk about. And if I had a 3-hour workshop, which oftentimes I do, we get to go through a lot more of these different things. But the world is our impact story stage, which is why we're here today as Toastmasters, trying to become better and better and better. The thing is, most of us, myself included up until recently, kept our gifts to ourselves, kept them to our club level, kept them to our own boardrooms, kept them to our own school classes. But we are holding back such great opportunity to make change in the world if we're not sharing them out to the world. And don't be afraid, don't be intimidated if you're not getting millions of views on your YouTube. You're just doing it. You never know who's going to be impacted. I'm going to leave you with one more clip. And again, I have never called myself a professional speaker. My skill level isn't there. I'm in my club, I say the most ums and ahs every time. I get the award for the most of them, okay? But because of what I do as a filmmaker, I have to speak at conferences all around North America talking about this stuff because I own the company, I've got a bunch of employees, but I'm also the guy who sells the company, right? So I have to speak, otherwise we don't get sales. As a result, I've been asked to speak about storytelling in a whole bunch of different markets that aren't necessarily mine. And it got to a point where I was like, geez, I love doing this, but I'm kind of spending less time at work. Maybe I should get paid for some of this stuff. And all I did to make that jump over that chasm was I put a website up that said, it's called greghemmings.me, not .com, but .me. And it just said, hey, I'm a public speaker. and here's my demo reel. And it was really hard for me to do that because I don't like feeling like a fraud. Because I am not a professional speaker. But I really have to change that attitude to myself, because since I did that about a year ago, I've been getting a lot of paid gigs. And in my mind, significantly well-paid gigs. I know there's other professionals that get way more, and it's not about the money. It's just the fact that someone values your time that it takes to tell your story. Because we all know it takes hours and hours to put a speech together, right? All of us can be monetizing this in the right times, right? This is not the forum to ask for money to speak at. This is the community. But if someone's asking you to take your Toastmaster skills out of your immediate area of focus, don't be afraid to say, hey, I am a professional speaker, or I am an expert speaker, or I am a public speaker. So what I've done, because Conrad is videotaping me, every single speech that I have ever done, I've videotaped. And it does not have to be good. You're going to see it in a sec. It does not have to be awesome production. You just have to show people what you speak about, what your style is, and people, when they look at your website, look at the demo reel that you edit together really easily, they're going to say, no, he's not for me, or she's not for me, or they're going to say, yes, that is the type of person that we want to talk to. My demo reel on my website is about 3 minutes long. I cut this one down to, I think, 60 seconds. I'll show you this, and we'll run ourselves into a close.
Look, I'd like to invite our next guest, Mr. Greg Hemmings, to the stage. Yeah! For those of you who don't know Greg is a prolific filmmaker, at least in his own mind.
What I hope to inspire us to do today is to walk out and go back into our work environments, go back into our business environments, and practice leadership with love.
The question is, how many of you in this room truly believe that you've got the capabilities and the capacity to make global impact? Now, Systema New Brunswick is a life-changing, revolutionary after-school music education program that is giving the gift of music every single day after school to some of our province's neediest children. I want you to think about your vision. What is your purpose in life? What are you here for? We're going through the biggest cultural shift of our time. If we're not building community value with our companies, we're losing relevancy. So this concept of relevancy in a rapidly changing environment is so critical. So often we need outside people to remind us of what it is that's so special about this place. We have no excuse not to do this stuff. And maybe many of you are, I don't know. But like I say, I acknowledge I am not a refined public speaker by any means. But I've put the effort into capturing my stories, sharing my stories, and unabashedly expressing what I believe in to the world. So don't be afraid to try. You just have to do it. Your story matters. It does. All of you have a story that can make impact, and that will make impact if you make a decision to let it happen, to share it. And I just want to say how honored I am to be part of the Toastmasters community. It's one of those things that just keeps me weekly on the ball. And anytime I actually do have to do a speech in front of an audience, I just remember how everybody in the audience wants me to succeed. There's nobody in there saying, I hope that guy fails, because I'm in the audience all the time at my Toastmasters group. That's a really important hack. Recognize that nobody wants you to fail. You know, and it's a really exciting time for us as Toastmasters to amplify our stories and really understand that we can make a massive impact. Also, go here, greghemmings.me, if you want to connect on any of these different things that we're talking about. I'm happy to share some more info.